Hollywood lost one of its stars recently. Academy Award-winning actor Philip Seymour Hoffman, the 46-year-old, was found in his New York apartment with a needle in his arm, dead of an apparent heroin overdose. Hoffman, who won his Best Actor Oscar for portraying author Truman Capote, was celebrated for playing characters pushed to life's edge, and he was open about his own struggles. VOA's Adam Phillips joins me right now. He's in our New York bureau. Thank you so much for joining me, Adam.
Pleasure.
Tell me something. What really happened with Philip, and what's going on with this heroin thing? And what do you think? What kind of image does that leave on our society, especially those kids who watch these Hollywood actors and artists and performers and they look up to them?
Well, what happened on a simple level with Philip Seymour Hoffman is that he was an on again and off again heroin addict. He was also had been addicted to prescription medicine, and he had a drinking problem at different points of his life. He'd gone to detox, but he had a very serious disease of drug addiction, and apparently he bought a lot of it, and he injected too much of it in his veins, and apparently have died from it. And it hasn't been definitively determined that it was heroin, but that's what most people seem to think it is. That's what the police say.
Yeah, because they found some packets of heroin around there. But have you noticed that recently there's been a lot of celebrities who've been getting killed by these drug overdoses? What do you think is going on there?
Well, I think that heroin abuse is a huge problem. I mean, there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people who are addicted to this and other similarly difficult opiates and other drugs. And I think celebrities are like other people. I mean, they might even have more inclination to become addicted because they have a very high-pressure lifestyle. They've got a lot of money, so there's no problem as far as paying for the drugs. And there's a sort of a culture of hedonism, and that's very permissive in some ways, and perhaps they might be attracted to it that way. That's all I could really say.
Okay. Actor and comedian Russell Brand, who himself struggled with heroin addiction himself, he tweeted that Hoffman's death was tragic, but addiction kills. Is there anything that's being done about helping these guys? Well, first, we got to know that they're addicted, right?
Yes, they know they're addictive, and then if they get it in time, they often go to detox or rehabilitation, which is often a residential setting where they sober up with people who are celebrities and people who aren't celebrities. They just share a common disease. And but Philip Seymour Hoffman did that also. Last May, he was in detox for 10 days, but obviously he fell off the wagon again.
Yeah. If I could get you to talk about Philip himself, and even in your piece, his neighbors and the community that he hung out at, everyone kind of loved the guy. He was a community guy. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, he seemed to have people had a very strong visceral impact, not just because they liked the movie characters or the Broadway roles that he played. I mean, he was a consummate actor. Everybody sort of agrees on that. But he was also a really nice guy, apparently. He mentored a lot of people. He was unassuming. He had a kind of a quiet demeanor, a little bit eccentric perhaps, but people felt very warmly to him. And so his Greenwich Village neighborhood was kind of a sadder day. People were stopping by, looking at the flowers, remembering him. The way, for example, he had built up this small little off-Broadway theater company near the house, and how he seemed to care about people, and it was a personal loss for many.
How can one cope up with a situation like that? You're a celebrity, you're a star, you've got this Hollywood fame, and then you have your own personal struggle that one goes through. How can one help individuals like these, like what happened to Hoffman or what happened to so many others in the past?
Do you mean how can you try to make it so that they don't use heroin, or they don't continue to use it, or don't use too much of it?
Yeah.
Well, I think that you need to promote a conversation within society where it is recognized as a disease, where the stigma is lost, but that the health issue is emphasized, and reach out to these people and give them support for living a kind of sober lifestyle that will help them to live a long time and get off this stuff.
Okay. And how do you think people will remember Philip?
I think they'll remember him as a wonderful actor who was capable of many, many different kinds of roles, not just on screen, but on Broadway. I mean, he played a huge range of characters. they'll sort of remember him, I guess, as a gentle guy. I mean, he was a family man too. He had 3 daughters, and all very young. And I think that they will feel kind of a wince when they realize how his life and his potential was cut off so completely and so early.
VOA radio and TV reporter Adam Phillips in New York, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure, thank you.